Hello. Hi. Good afternoon. I hope you were able to spend some time to rest, refresh your minds, and be ready for our next session this afternoon. We are now on our 14th session, and I'll be talking to you about types of sermon, how to deliver a sermon, madugo pa rin ito. Then what are the guidelines to prepare ourselves or our self-preparation before we present ourselves in the pulpit. And then lastly, I'll be talking to you about how to develop our personal presentation capability. I think, yeah, that's all. So I know it will be about 1 hour and a half, pero let's go, let's move on. Slowly but surely. Okay? To start with, let's talk about the types of sermon. Before I start presenting to you types of sermons, just to remind you, don't be misled by what we have studied a while ago about the basis, about the foundations of or structures of our sermon, because more or less I will be mentioning same terms, but actually there are two different things. For example, I was talking out to you a while ago about textual, thematic, structure, and what was the other one? Narrative. But anyway, I will be talking the same, more or less, same term, but the focus here is about the context of the sermon. No longer just the basis or the foundation. Okay? So, inuuna ko lang yan because baka kayo ay makakaroon ng confusion between sermon structures and ito ngayon, types of sermons. Okay. To start with, our preaching style, the way we preaching style is the process by which the preacher delivers the sermon package to the congregation. Your sermon style is being influenced by three very important elements. Our style of presenting ourselves in a sermon. So, our sermon style is influenced by our personality, number one. Number two, our passion to deliver the sermon. Our character, third, and our methodology. The methods by which we present our sermon. So, these four elements intertwined, and it cause an impact while we deliver our sermon, while we deliver our homily, or while we preach. Ulit ko lang. Personality, passion, character, and methodology. I-enhance natin yan later on. Okay? So, sabi nga, kanya-kanya tayong style, kanya-kanya tayong presentation, kanya-kanya tayong delivery Pero itong four important items or elements, ito yung basic. While we present our sermon, ito ang apat ay may impact sa ating pagde-deliver ng sermon. Okay, types of sermons. Ito yung sinasabi ko. Number 1, the topical sermons. Number 2 is the expository sermon. Number 3 is the textual sermon. And number 4, a pure narrative sermon. Before I go further, meron akong konting tips sa inyo. Kasi estudyante ko kayo eh. Makakatulong to sa inyo. Every time you encounter a word or a term na you find it hard to understand. Ang technique noon is just to find the root word of that particular word. Then with the root word, understanding its root word, more or less, it will guide you to understand. More or less, it will guide you to understand the whole thing. For example, and I mentioned ko ito kanina, topical sermon. Ano bang etymological term sa term na topical? Comes from the term topic. Simple lang, di ba? Etymological word of every word has something to do with the wholeness of its meaning or definition. Another example, ito, number 2, expository sermon. Expository. Ano bang etymological term? Expose. Then, third, textual sermons. Ano bang etymological term sa textual? Coming from the term texts. So, pag nabasa mo yung text, alam mo na text. Biblical text. Okay? And then, the narrative sermon or a pure narrative sermon. Okay ba? Ox ba? Okay, that's good. So, let's go to all those things one by one. The topical sermon. By the way, kanina sinabi ko sa inyo, you may not stick to one kind or type of sermon. Kung talagang magaling ka, marunong ka, you may make halo-halo of those 4 kinds of sermon. Maybe a combination of 2 or 3. Okay yun. Basta mas maganda ang meron kang a bit of everything kaysa you just, for example, stick to one sermon with is textual. Wala na yung expository sermon. Medyo mahirap-hirap yun kasi from the start till the end, you deal only on your Bible texts. Kailangan i-expose ang iyong meaning ng isang Bible text. Yun yung expository. Anyway, ating i-define siya one by one. I-describe natin siya one by one. A topical sermon. When delivering a topic sermon, the preacher begins with an issue, what's going on, or a topic, and shows his biblical teachings that apply to the subject. To prepare a topical sermon, the preacher starts, underline, the preacher starts with a topic or a theme, and then finds a passage in the Bible that addresses or supports that topic or theme, which is very famous yung ganitong style ng sermon. May example ako dito, biblical, pero medyo malalim. Ayoko nang gamitin yan. Anyway, for example, your text is about 1 Corinthians 13. It describes in that text about love, loving, and relating. Okay? So, if you talk about love, you may use that particular text. But nevertheless, you have to find your own theme or topic first. So love or relating or loving or relationship can be already a topic. In order for you to support your theme, your topic, which is love or relating, you may use a text. So, an example kong text na pwedeng gagamitin, 1 Corinthians 13. And all other gospel texts na pwede natin gamitin. So, ang topical text is coming from the term topic. You must have a topic first or a theme. Develop a theme. After you develop your theme or topic, you may now use a biblical text to support your theme. Okay? That is what we call as topical sermons. I know there are several books na medyo several pages ang pagdi-describe sa mga sermon types of sermons. But we're trying to get the essence of everything in order for us to go directly to the main point of the subject matter. Okay? So, that's a topical sermon. By the way, may ibang term na ginagamit ng ibang mga preachers. Instead of using the term topical sermons, they use the term thematic sermons. Spelling lang ang difference, but more or less it's the same description. You have the topic, you have the theme. Get the theme, supported by a scriptural verse, you develop your idea, and so on and so forth. Now you have a textual or thematic sermons. Okay? Number 2, expository sermon. Expository sermon, medyo masyadong complicated ito, to be honest. And then, very biblical in nature ang isang expository sermon. Basahin ko muna. When delivering an expository sermon, the preacher begins with a passage coming from the scripture or verse or one whole chapter and explains its meaning one by one, verse by verse, using the biblical text or using the same text or coming from other texts from other gospel books, writers, or verses. Basta lahat sa expository sermon, mostly ang lahat ng mga materials o tools na ginagamit mo nito is being supported by a scriptural text. Find its meaning, you give its, explains its meaning, how can it be applied to the hearer's actual life experience, and then you explain the meaning of your text, of your preaching. The meaning and intent of the biblical text, kailangan present. You provide commentaries or biblical commentaries. You expound the grammar, even explain the grammar being used in the text, and examples to make the passage clear and understandable. Kung napansin yung description dito, umiikot ang isang expository sermon ay nakapaligid lang siya sa Biblia. Lahat. So, meaning, coming from the Bible, you explore, and then you explain the meaning, also coming from the Bible, and then after explaining the meaning, you present its application to the people. Another point that you're gonna use another text to support the meaning or application of that particular message that you wanted to declare or to present to your congregation. Okay? So, expository needs a lot of studying its biblical text, its grammar, its historical background, ano ibig sabihin nito, ano ibig sabihin sa kulay nito, kung meron man, and so on and so forth. Everything ay umiikot sa Biblia lahat. it has a big difference with the textual o no, topical or thematic sermons dahil na you start with a theme, with a topic coming from the environment, coming from what's going on in the world. Then you find you support text coming from your scriptures. Support it, develop it, present it. Yun ang difference. Dito, everything should be, you should be a biblical scholar in order for you to present a clear expository sermons. Okay? Number 3 is the textual sermons. Again, etymological word coming from the word text. Etymological meaning root word. Okay. Text. Familiar. Sounds familiar. It's very famous. Minsan kasi pag ako nag-sermon, ginagamit ko most of the time. Hinahalo-halo ko ito. Meron akong konting, yes, exegesis, biblical background, but I focus more on the thematic with an application of textual part. Paminsan, narrative. Ginagamit ko din yun. So, just be comfortable to go through these 4 kinds of sermons. Okay? So, textual, from the text. It's a kind of sermon using a single text. Single text, or a verse, or a phrase, or the whole chapter of that gospel, for example. Okay. It is a kind of sermon using a single text from the Bible and uses it as a jumping point to discuss a particular theme or topic in your homily. So, para siyang, kung i-analyze nyo, it's a kind of, para siyang opposite of, yung kanina, opposite siya ng topical, topic, then scriptures, text. Ito, text, biblical text, i-expound mo siya, and then you come up with a message or the theme. So it is a kind of sermon using a single text from the Bible as your jumping point in order for you to present your message or theme of your homily. Example, 1 Corinthians 13 yung example kong gamit dito. To discuss the whole topic about love in a textual sermon, the preacher uses a text as a springboard for discussing a particular topic. Yan na nga. Sabi ko na kanina, describe ko kanina. So there you have the text. You use the text in order for you to present your own topic or issues around you or the environment, the world, what's the world's situation right now. Okay? So text and then jumping point in order for you to come up with a topic. That's number 3. Number 4. Simple lang ito ang number 4. Yung bang sinasabi, tinatawag nilang alalang, storya-storya lang si Father. Tapos, ending na. Ending na. Okay? Actually, that description describes this 4th type of sermon. Some other schools on preaching, they do not use this item as part of the types of sermons. Ginamit ko, in-apply ko dahil alam ko makakatulong sa atin. Ano ba itong pure narrative sermon? Pure narrative sermon is just the story is the preaching. You talk, you relate a story. Ano yung term kanina? May ginamit akong term kanina na ang point na ginagamit mo is the experiences of your members from your congregation. The story is the preaching itself. In other words, a pure narrative sermon is a story. And you relate the story to your audience. No more, no less. The story may be embellished in its detail and dressed up in its execution, but it is still only a story. In such a sermon, no need for introduction, no need for a conclusion outside of the story itself. The story's introduction is the sermon's introduction. The story's conclusion is the sermon's conclusion. Mostly, magamit mo ito pag nag-relate ka ng mga story. Dito ba pwedeng gamitin yung mga stories in the Old Testament? Relate it to the New Testament. Same thing. Narrative rin pagka-relate mo sa story mo. So, meron pa rin laman ang iyong homily or sermon. Pero most of the time, make sure. Dahil itong type of sermon, ito yung type of sermon na most of the time, kung hindi storyteller ang nagtell sa story, baka pagtingin mo sa audience mo, nakatulog na ang lahat.
Yes, sir.
Oo, kasi wala itong highlights. It's just a story. Or maybe, depende sa yung story. Paminsan, may mga magaling na mag-narrate ng storya. Meron sila mga highlights na nalagay doon eh. Just to make people, to sustain the attention of the audience. Meron ganyan. Pero, pag-start ng narrative mo, dry ka na, so what do you expect from your audience? May I go out, sir? Ang nangyari, that's why kalamitan. Sabi ng iba, pagdating sa sermon ni Father, it's time for them to go out and start smoking outside at silip-silip na lang sa simbahan. Ano kayang sinasabi ni Father? Kailan ba matatapos yung homily ni Father? Eh pagkatapos sa narrative, throw your cigarettes away and go inside back to church. Ayos ang pagsimba. So, that's it. So, there are 4 types of sermon. Topical, thematic, textual, expository, narrative sermon. Okay?